Hey, everybody, and welcome to our totally not 3 minutes or 4 minutes into live stream for our January live hangout. We're talking about the Vin Diesel's other franchise, the one that, again, sadly doesn't have 243 entries. The Riddick films. There are four. That's right, four of these. And as we were saying before, we realized that microphones should be on when you're talking. Uh, no OG Xbox, so no Escape from Butcher Bay. But we do have uh, some fun Vin Diesel and some pretty cool goggles to talk about. But first and foremost, make sure that you like this video. Maybe you can skip the first 3 minutes, but make sure afterwards you like and subscribe, share with your friends, do everything that Riddick would do um, if he was on YouTube right now. He would tell you that it's important to support family, and so make sure we give that thumbs up. Help and we do these live streams every single month. Uh, This is gonna be a fun one. Next month is honestly one of my favorite ones we do every single year. But we'll talk about that later. We also do these movie reviews every single week. Last month, which we just wrapped up our 90s schlock January. And so now we're into talking about new films. We've got uh, two new reviews coming out this week. Of course, Nick is ahead of me when it comes to January new movies. If you haven't checked out his post theater clarity on 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple, make sure you do. We've got another one of those coming up Wednesday. We'll talk about a little bit later. We also have a new review, my first new movie review of 2026, that drops tomorrow afternoon. So lots to talk about for that stuff later. But right now, first and foremost, hello, Nick.
Hey, bud, how's it going?
Good. It's going good. You will have to forgive the excessive amount of forehead. I went to get my hair cut, and I told the guys he was cutting. I was like, "Yeah, I've been trying to get my hair cut for 3 weeks now, and I just haven't been able to get here." And apparently, he read that as, "Well, don't worry, we'll take care of that." And so, but it's okay. I don't want you to think I was cutting my hair short because I secretly, as a child, want to be serial murderer Richard K. Riddick. Uh, So what do you have any what is your I guess we'll start there. What is your relationship to the Chronicles of Riddick?
We're talking about that specific movie or the overall four
The
movies?
overall Chronicles, all the
a
Chronicles.
little, yeah, a little confusingly worded there. So, my first memory actually goes back all the way to 2001 video in our hometown. Uh, we were uh, and well known patrons of 2001 video, our local small town video store, and uh, Susan Allen, who ran it, was quite fond of us, was always nice. And we would have been 16 or 17 at the time. And I remember her telling us, or I at least know I was there. I don't recollect who all was there, that she's like, you really need to watch Pitch Black. You really need to see this. She's like, I highly recommend it. And she tried to steer us towards movies we know we'd like. And back in the early 2000s, got to see Pitch Black for the first time. Uh, and lo and behold, we'll get into that later, she was right. And in the years since, I have watched each new entry. It took me a while to watch the animated entry, Dark Fury. I went to go see Chronicles of Riddick in the theater, and I went to go see Riddick, which kind of blows my mind. That was 13 years ago when that movie came out. And whenever Riddick Furia finally gets released, I'll go watch that one too. Uh, but it's one I always connect way back to our video store days for distinctly remembering that conversation.
that I'm helping. So if you can hear me, uh, the actual YouTube for whatever reason has put the stream under. I'm a terrible typer, one handed. Has put it under the after Christmas party. So it's not under the actual. We'll fix it in post. Um, but yeah, so yeah, and then like so I remember that. I remember the second one. Never did see the anime one. And then I remember the third live action movie coming out and just missing it. So this was the first time watch for me for Riddick proper. But yeah, Pitch Black Man was a kind of a just a over and over again kind of rental. So I guess that's where we'll start. So let's start with Pitch Black. Oh baby, the trip back to the year 2000. Pitch Black, written by and directed. He directed all these. Uh, David Toohey uh, wrote The Arrival, not A Arrival, but The Arrival with Charlie Sheen. He also wrote The Fugitive. Uh, he wrote a movie that, if you have been following our live streams um, long enough, you remember the day our Jeff Daniels tribute um, live stream we did. He wrote Grand Tour, which is a movie that I think you and I really really loved.
If
Um,
if you have not seen the Jeff Daniels movie from the early '90s, The Grand Tour, uh, it's known by an alternate title, which I can't think of off the top of my head, but just Google The Grand Tour Jeff Daniels. Man, absolutely watch it. It is such a great time travel movie.
yeah. Just so for Devils, it's if you go to the um our actual YouTube channel, it'll be the one that's actually live. It'll say live underneath it, but it's our December uh main screen. But then once you click into it, it's the actual uh Riddick stuff. Again, I don't. It's restream stuff, man. Uh, it's those things where you like if you're a kid or when you're an adult, you're like, I wish I could go back in time and uh tell my younger self, invest in Microsoft or uh, you know, invent Google. It'd be like, hey, why don't you learn YouTube and you're gonna want your knees later, so don't play football. Who doesn't have that problem is Riddick. This is a very early role by I think a pretty early role by Vin Diesel. Um,
He,
you have
he hadn't
Vin.
quite hit he hadn't quite hit it big yet. This was kind of one of his early breakout roles. He had been acting. Uh, he shows up in some commercials, but this is the first thing I really remember Vin Diesel being in, like in a significant role.
Yeah, we couldn't go without mentioning the Street Sharks. He is in fact a street shark. Um, we have him. You have Rhoda Mitchell, uh, Keith David, just the velvety smooth of Keith David in this movie. A very young pre-Yellowstoned Cole Hauser. Uh, in fact, when he popped up, I told Amber, I was like, "Wait, you're going to see somebody. You're not going to recognize him by his face because he's such a baby." And the minute he talks, she looked at me and went, "No." um, so Pitch Black is essentially one of my favorite movies because it's types of movies. It's a movie of bunch of people, uh, essentially shipwreck. I mean, spaceship as opposed to like boats. Uh, and you have this intergalactic. We're just like moving everybody to this new location. It's like a bus, like a space city bus. And Rhoda Mitchell turns out to be one of the like she is not the pilot you want on your trip across the stars, because if there's a problem, she's not afraid to just dump all the passengers and start all over. Um, she's just like, oh nope, screw this. uh, Cole Hauser is playing a character named Johns who may or may not be law enforcement, and he's transporting Vin Diesel to a supermax prison. Um, do they? I don't think they actually mention which prison it is specifically. We don't get into those to the later sequels, where we start naming the different types of planet prisons we've got going on. But nope, we crash on this planet, and it's a planet with 3 suns. And it doesn't seem nearly as pretty as Tatooine does with only its 2 suns. This is a really hot planet. Uh, but there's things in the shadows, and uh-oh, wouldn't you know it, a decades long eclipse is on the way, and nothing survives the dark. No matter, you're gonna need somebody with night vision in order to survive, and that's kind of the elevator pitch for this movie. Uh, I don't feel it's too early in our conversation to say out of everything, this is kind of still my favorite. A lot of it has to do with it's a movie where we have a lot of gray characters. We're on a shipwreck, and then we're dealing with that, and then uh-oh, giant monster. It's for the same reason I love something like Deep Rising. Uh, I I miss small original sci-fi. Um, this ended up becoming something, but it wasn't based on anything. We're just given a little bit. We're introduced to these. Well, they don't always look fantastic because it's 2000 and we're smack dab in the middle of 2000 CG. Although I will say, holds up better than I thought it would have. These original looking creatures, really cool idea of um, being on a planet that is so bright that everything's underground, the monsters are underground, but oh, there's an eclipse coming, and it kind of gives you that 30 days of night ticking clock of because there's no survival once the lights go out. You're introduced to Vin Diesel with this really cool idea of these. He's had his eyes basically glossed over. My favorite line is he's like, "You gotta like kill a bunch of people and get sent to a supermax where if you give some guy a bunch of cools, which is like still like trading for cigarettes and these super planets. Yeah, 100 menthol cools, man. To just like have your eyes made for super night vision. Um, I really love the filmmaking in this. We were watching it, and I'm sitting here, and as we first arrive on the planet, all the suns are up. The movie's almost in black and white. It's how bright these suns are, and then when they go inside of a building or we're inside of the shipwreckage where we're not under direct sun, then it looks like a normal film. And then you're just watching it, and you start to realize that, oh, even when we're outside, it's starting to look like a normal film. Oh, it's getting darker. Oh, the movie's getting darker. Oh no, it's getting dark. It's dark. It's pitch black, and now there's monsters. There's some fun twists and turns. I don't think I want to give. I mean, I guess we have to. There's a cool twist with the character who is thought of uh, to be one thing and turns out is another and hidden. Uh, that character becomes kind of a main MacGuffin somewhat toward the end. Nobody's really who they say they are. We get some of your stock. characters of this, the rich, British guy with all of his booze that he carries around in Egyptian sarcophagi. And then like our couple that aren't together, are they together? I'm not sure. It doesn't matter. They're both dead meat. Uh, and we'll get into a little bit more, but I'll turn it over to you. Nick, what do you think about Pitch Black?
I think Pitch Black holds up pretty well overall. I would say, and out the gate, it is probably still my favorite of the franchise. Also, this one is definitely unlike the others. This is a much smaller, lower budget movie. It's still a decently sized Hollywood production, but it feels like a much smaller story because it is. You don't you get some allusions to the universe at large, but mostly it's these characters trying to survive on this barren planet full of flying velociraptors with hammerhead shark heads, which is kind of the best way I could think to describe them. They they live underground except for once, I believe every 27 years there's this eclipse which lasts they don't know how long, some indeterminate amount of time, which they come out of hiding and eat absolutely everything, including each other. And that's the big thing is it's like the big shtick. Yup, Riddick, Vin Diesel, pitch he can see in pitch black darkness because of his eyes, but he's also this extremely dangerous guy, a a, a guy who's can escape from prison, super deadly with weapons, with his bare hands, but they have to depend on him in order to survive when this eclipse goes down so they can try to get off planet. I It does a really good job, I think, building tension of seeing these people trying to survive in an ever evolving situation. Initially they crash land, a lot of people die, and trying to figure out, okay, what's going on this planet that like and they find this giant skeleton. And I'm a sucker in video games, movies, media. When they show a giant skeleton or exoskeleton, I think it's such a always makes it always stimulates your imagination, thinking of well, there's something massive that once a time was there. I think it's just such a cool set piece. And this little mining camp that they find, and just cool things. They find this model of the planet and when they kind of figure out it's like, okay, well, if all these three moons align, what's going to happen? And then these putting these pieces together that this eclipse is coming, and I really like how it unfolds and how it builds things up. There's it, and it builds up, of course, towards the end. You're trying. They're in this after the night falls. They're in this wild situation, and it does such a good job of it as they're like trying to survive in the night while they're just, I mean, utter blackout darkness with a few torches and flashlights trying to make it to the ship to somehow get off world, being led by a killer. It's a great setup. And I think the cast does a really bang up job too. This is one, in my opinion, one of Vin Diesel's best roles. I think and no, hey, not trying to hate him, Vin Diesel. He's not ever going to win an Oscar for acting, but I think he plays this role quite well. I think Cole Hauser, and watching it with my wife, it's like that's Rip from Yellowstone. He looks so drastically different. It just it does it it does so well as a sci-fi thriller horror movie. And if you can get past the fact that yeah, it looks a little dated, I think it holds up extremely well, and it gave us a pretty cool character at that. It's not a super plot driven movie, but it doesn't need to be. It's one of those, I think the movie set out to do something and it absolutely achieved that. And it's been quite a while since I've seen Pitch Black, but it was fun to revisit and fun to remind me of that. It was, man, what a gem for the time.
Yeah, and I know that no hate Vin Diesel. I know the meme of Vin Diesel now is just he has a big thumb mumbling behind the wheel of a Dodge Charger. But he is legitimately charming, not only in this movie but in this series. But I think at the most, the deadliest he's so deadly and charming in this movie at his peak, with the intertwining of those 2. And I love that back in the day, even though we were filming a movie that's set in pitch black, we knew we were making a movie, and so we filmed it like you could see everything instead of paying $20 to go to the theater and sit in a dark black room because you have to feel like it's really dark even though we're a visual medium. My only knock about this movie is there are several key moments where this thing is edited like uh, just like the ass of every 2000s movie. It's edited like a 2000s movie, which means there are just chunks of where it's just edited like crap.
It's an unfortunate hallmark of the era, and it really you can you can really feel it in movies of this era, especially anything action oriented, the way they're kind of chopping it up. But I can forgive it. There's a little.
Yeah.
I'm glad we're not returning to that. There's a little nostalgia for it, even though it's
Oh, yeah,
not
and
great.
I love that it's, like, again, like, the world building. I don't need to see new Mecca, I just know that Keith David and his, like, boy harem are on their way there, and they are a certain group, and then you have little things like the weird things that don't only they only happen in this movie, but they work in the context of the film. The weird little blue bug like the blue maggots that come up when you need them, so you can fill these empty Jack Daniel's bottles with them. The reason for whatever reason that girl is not only able to shave her head perfectly, but also to find a pair of perfect 1990s swimming goggles on this intergalactic space train. Uh, even to the and I love the weapons are they're just sorry, it keeps trying to give me I don't care about the hockey updates. Thank you. Um, the guns are just kind of goofy looking enough to be sci-fi, while clearly being what they are. Again, and uh, the weird rope light things, the sled they have to make. I love all that stuff. Just again, there's just something about that small, original, like sci-fi horror that just it's like a warm bath. I love it.
And it's it, and with all the tech and everything, from the weapons, the ship, everything feels tangible and real. Nothing's so polished or so wildly futuristic. And I love that in a movie where they can get that right because not everything would be super sleek and polished. A lot of shit would be beat up or a cheap knockoff or something. And this movie looks rugged. These are people basically traveling on a Greyhound bus in space. It's not fancy. And then trying to survive this utter nightmare scenario. Uh, and there was enough illusions in it and enough little world building that gave you something to build off of for the next 3 movies. So I think it's a great entrance into the franchise, and it gets a lot wilder after this.
Yeah. Uh, going into and again this one going to our next, which was also a first time watch for me, Dark Fury, from 2004. This is the bridge between Pitch Black and the next live action film that would come afterwards, The Chronicles of written by David Toohey as well. This time directed by Peter Chung, the creator of Aeon Flux. Which, if you could not tell that by this animation, then have you ever not ever seen anime Aeon Flux? Um, I'm not a huge anime guy, but I remember watching a lot, and I remember watching it. So a lot of like sneak watching because I wasn't supposed to be watching those cartoons that were on like Liquid Television. Um, like Eon Flux and the Max. Uh, Even to an extent, kind of has the feeling of like McFarlane's Spawn from HBO. Um, but I love, again, I'm not a big anime guy, but I love that Aeon Flux style of animation. It carried over to some of the segments of that Gotham Knight anime they did, the Animatrix, of course, but even into like basic TV Saturday cartoons because very for whatever reason I watched way more of the Men in Black cartoon than I probably should have, but it's that same art style. Um, and this is that. I just did not realize how short this was. It's like 34 minutes. Um, I will say if you go into this movie like expecting like a big like this is answers all of your questions. It's not that. It essentially introduces one side character um that will pop up in the next movie in another a mercenary. Um but you do have Vin Diesel, you have the young actress who plays Jack and Keith David all return to do their voice roles. And it's essentially them being hijacked by another group who the leader of this weird, I guess they're kind of like a space cult. I'm not quite sure on that. She likes to uh trap and then force space serial killers to fight and then basically turns them into living statues. And she has her eyes set on Riddick. And there's just a lot of really cool early 2000s kind of again that Aeon Flux style animation going on. And it does get I'm glad this also gets to be a little bloodier than I thought it would be. Um especially knowing that for whatever reason we kind of went PG-13. Uh but this was fun. I guess I was expecting more of a full length animation and not just like a 30-minute thing. It was great, but it was just wasn't quite what I was expecting. But I did overall enjoy it mostly because of the animation style and not so much because of it as a entry in this franchise. But what did you think about Dark Fury?
I'd watched Dark Fury in the past. I too had forgotten that it's a short film. And again, we have a small story picking up after Riddick and a few of the people manage to get off world and they're snatched up by these people. So, it's about them trying to survive and escape on this ship with this, their leader likes collecting, as you said, space killers, along with other creatures apparently what comes into play. But we get some in 34 minutes, we get to see the ship, which is quite an impressive creation. I love how it's designed, and you get a few really cool action set pieces. You get a zero G fight scene, which is, in my opinion, just awesome, where Riddick has to pull a few fast moves to fight off a bunch of heavily armed mercenaries and with no gravity. I'm a sucker for scenes without gravity because I think it allows you to be very creative. Then we have a scene where Riddick fights these two jellyfish-like aliens called Shrills. And the way I love their design, the way they move, the how they attack, and it's like they drain people. I think I love alien creatures that are truly alien. They're not just humanoids, not just people with ridges on their face. There's something that if we saw, we'd have a hard time wrapping our head around. And that's what they are, and it makes for a cool fight scene. And the lights go out, so you're seeing part of it in just these flashes of the darkness of these bioluminescent creatures, and just getting to see some from Riddick's vision as he's trying desperately to keep his friends alive and fight them. Then you get a little bit of the escape, and you're introduced, to Toombs, who's the mercenary that shows up in the Chronicle Riddick. It is a small story, but it's entertaining story, and I think it's a fun one that fits in and bridges the gap a bit between Pitch Black and the Chronicles of Riddick. It's I wouldn't say it's a much watch, but if you've seen the other three, I think it behooves you to watch Dark Fury. I had a good time with it, and as you know, it's a quick watch, so quite bloody, quite action packed, and it's a fun tight 34 minutes. I myself recommend it. I liked it.
Yeah. No, like I said, it was I don't know why I thought it was longer, but yeah, like it's if it was any longer, I don't know if I'd enjoy it, but it's kind of right in that wheelhouse of like, yeah, put this on. Um I'm sure you can probably find it probably on YouTube. It's a bonus feature on the Pitch Black Blu-ray. Uh, so you can find it pretty easily. So yeah, I would say definitely check it out. If nothing else, even if you're not interested in it bridging the gap, just to watch it and kind of hold reverence for that long lost animation style because we're still in that hand drawn um anime look that while not a huge anime guy, I really appreciate all the amazing work that goes into those films.
It really does feel like a relic from another era of a movie made in the mid 2000s with animation style from the early 90s. And it made me nostalgic for both eras. And I think it did justice kind of the movies and the feel of both eras. So I yeah, it was nice revisiting this, but I had it in my head this was like a full-length movie,
Yeah.
and I don't know why I remember it being a full-length movie. 1 minute, and we will move on to Chronicles of Riddick.
Yeah. To answer your question, Logan, she is out of town. She went to go uh be with her mother. Um, kind of a um heavy weekend for her, and so Amber went up to be with her for that. So which is why you got me kind of just like fat fingering my way through getting this live going. So if for no other if nothing else, she will know how sadly she's missed because he does have a way of making these run a lot smoother than this simple caveman who's like Hulk hand smashing the keyboard trying to get the correct thing to come on.
Anytime Amber's not around, she's surely missed because she's quite a producer, and we love her dearly. But
Well, well, number one, Logan, get on. No, they're not croc. That's alligators, sir. Although I don't discriminate between the two. Also, I was gonna be nice to you. I was gonna tell you. I almost wore a Seattle Kraken shirt today just to show you no hard feelings. That even though last time we were together on a live stream, I believe I called you a Seahawks butthead. Um, that I can still root for the Kraken. So good luck in the Super Bowl. Um, and that's the last I'll say of that, you Seahawk butthead. Sorry, Nick. Go on.
well, we talked about Chronicles of Riddick Dark Fury. Now we're moving on to the Wild Chronicles of Riddick. And let me tell you, watching Pitch Black in the early 2000s and the movie it was didn't in no way prepare me for what a wild turn the series would take from this small survival horror movie to a massive space epic that is Chronicles of Riddick. I remember going to the movie theater and seeing the trailer, and the trailer was crazy. And I was just like, what is that? Looks like the character from Pitch Black, but what's going on? And there is a lot going on in the Chronicles of Riddick. So we pick up about 5 years after the events of Pitch Black. Riddick had gone into hiding on what looks to be the worst planet in the solar system, the ass crack of the universe, where you just look like you're cold all the time. There's nothing there. He's being hunted by a bunch of mercenaries, and they call them they're bounty hunters. They're after him to take him to one of these, as they call it, slams, super maxes, and collect the bounty on his head. He manages to somehow completely get the drop on them and steal their ship in a pretty awesome scene. Uh, and as there was only two people who knew where he was going, he makes a beeline for New Mecca to ask some questions because to Keith David's character, the Imam. So he makes his way there, and we are introduced to not only the planet of New Mecca, but this space death cult. called the Necromongers, led by, and I can't see.
Palm
What's
Fior is the actor's name.
okay? I'm glad you said it because I didn't know how to pronounce his name. Who some of you might know if you've been watching TV lately is Nate on Landman.
He'll always be
You
Andre
just
Lenoge from Storm of the Century for me.
yes, Eh, and Storm of the Century, yeah, and sorry, I lost my notes here. And as Carl Urban, Billy Butcher himself as his right hand man. So these a little bit of the necromongers. They are a death cult. Their leader, the Grand Marshal, has seen something called the Underverse, where he's basically gone to this other universe and come back, and now he's half alive, half dead. So he kind of has the Johnny Cage shadow kick thing going on at all times, where it's like his soul kind of trails behind him. It's a cool effect. And they are on a unholy crusade across the universe to snuff out all life because they believe life itself is an affront to their religion and to their to and, and only through snuffing out all life will they be able to cross over to the underverse. They do not believe in procreation. Their hordes are expanded by plowing into planets and overwhelming them with force and then forcefully converting everyone. So they either convert or they die. One of the cool things I really like about them is there's kind of this grim harbinger. Their ships, when they're traveling, look like a comet streaking through the sky. And that's kind of how they disguise their approach when in fact there's hundreds, if not thousands, of ships. These amazing cathedral looking ships. So, bit of that background of the Necromongers. We have Riddick shows up on the planet of New Mecca and looking for some answers. Well, and he finds some, but he also winds up in New Mecca shortly before this whole planet is overran by the Necromongers. He manages to, so he has to find a way to get off world and go to we get to see one of these slams, a supermax called Crematoria, which he has a knack for finding the worst planets you could possibly go to because this is the opposite of his first planet because it's hot as hell there, if you could judge from the name Crematoria. So I'm not going to lay out all the plot, but it's this multi-planet spanning epic where he's trying to stay ahead of mercenaries and this death cult and find answers and hopefully track down Jack, the survivor from one of his fellow survivors from Pitch Black. And there's a lot going on in this movie, and it is a wild, action-packed ride. But I've been talking, so what do you think, Jason?
Yes. No, I do like this one. Um, it it's almost 2 movies. It feels like we were like, "Oh, and we'll do that," because I really love the Necromongers, the new mecha stuff. I love the fact when we were introduced to the Lord Marshal, he looks like the coolest version of Shredder, with his outfit he's got on with the mini-faced helmet. Carl Urban rocking the worst, like a premonition of the worst haircut to ever exist in the 2000s. Um, but only it's now that they wear it. Um, I love it because it essentially becomes you essentially turn Riddick from this like anti-hero killer with a conscience type character to essentially he essentially becomes Space Conan. Uh which I love. I think I did like just Space Conan the Barbarian. Like that's awesome. And then but then like that's going on and then all of a sudden it becomes a prison break movie where it's like the movie Fortress only instead of it's just real hot. We're looking for the character of Jack, who we've not only changed the actor. It's a different actress, but we've changed her name to. She's like, I'm not Jack anymore. Too, I'm gonna make it more confusing for the audience because now my name is Kira. And so it's him in this prison trying to find a way to escape from these weirdly, like, all the guards are weirdly Russian, and there are rock diamond dogs. And again, there's just so much going on. And then they finally get off that planet to be like, fuck, I forgot what we were doing in the first 30 minutes of this movie. Previously on Riddick. And so we go back to New Mecca for the final, wrapping that up. It feels like this movie has so like they're just like, we're not gonna get another one, so put everything in it. Um, and again, the stuff with the necromongers, I love because again, Space Conan, man, that sounds awesome. And I think you could have done maybe a second movie, the crematoria stuff. Maybe you could expand that to a full movie. I'm not sure. I wanted more of the new Mecca, the Harbingers of Doom stuff. Um, but again, it's still really fun. It's just such a wild shift to be like, I made that space horror movie about the big, like the killer animals, and we had that one character that kind of picked up. Well, Vin Diesel's kind of hit it off with the Fast and the Furious. What if we gave him a space opera? And for me, for the most part, it works. It's just a very crowded movie.
It's I I really do like this movie a lot. I do, but it's one of those if anybody who doesn't, man, I get it. It's so busy trying to do a lot of world building. And I think it mostly succeeds in the world building. I think the Necromongers look awesome and it explains a lot about them and it sells them so well and I think they are very interesting villains. Uh I think this is one of Carl Urban's hammiest performance in it. He's really with him and a space mullet are being really chewed up scenery in this movie. But I mean the Necromongers are kind of outrageous villains anyway. Just the ship design, their outfits, the way they fight and everything. I love the invasion of New Mecca. And it's just they come you see them coming out of the sky and landing. You see all these ships peeling off of the main ship and you could see their weapons and just that scene where they a bunch of the necromongers are falling, they shoot up this like flare in the air and you see that these soldiers who thought they had the upper hand are completely surrounded. Great scene. I actually probably would have liked to seen a little more of everything that happened in New Mecca. I agree. And crematoria. Space prisons look absolutely awful, and I mean, mutant dogs. It's hot as hell. It just looks miserable. But man, they crammed a lot into this movie. There's just, and it's just like, oh, we're on the ice planet. Nope, now New Mecca. Wait, nope, we're leaving there. Uh, now we're in crematory. Wait, we're going back. We're fighting the necromongers. It packs a lot into one movie. It's it does. It packs too much into one movie, but I can't help but love it. Uh, I really like how they wrapped up this movie, leaving it open for another one. And we'll get into that. It's like, and you kind of predict it's probably not going to go well with how it ends, and you're right. But it's just, man, this movie goes for it. It. I don't know how many series took a sharper turn and went such a different direction in their second movies than this. Because it told so much more of a just this massive space opera. And I could appreciate it for what it is. Uh, it definitely feels like a movie of its era, but you know what? I'm here for it. And Space Conan, that is an apt comparison, and I love it.
Well, we didn't even mention the fact that Judi Dench is in this movie playing like a mix between like the White Queen from Master of the Universe mixed with the Last Airbender, and then
Yes, she.
last. Oh, go ahead.
I was just like, it's like, well, you're watching this. It's like, wait, is that Judy Dench? And kind of not a very big role either. playing this air elemental, and it's just like, wait. So there's just we go for Pitch Black, this fairly grounded sci-fi movie, and now it's like we have all sorts of space magic, a variety of space magic.
But I will say this, between this and Mission Impossible 2, as much as I loved everything, give me all of the Thandie Newton you can have from 2004, because my goodness.
Yes, she was on fire. Her burnt on eyeliner looking just sexy as all get out. Just a sexy necromongers, except for Carl Urban's haircut.
That's right.
And I just got to give credit to his the Lord Marshal's name, Comfier.
Mhm.
He does so great as the Lord Marshal. He cuts such an it's like this imposing figure, and he's got such screen presence. Why have we not seen him more as a villain? Because
I
this
don't
dude, I
know.
think this dude's got it.
I think he got sucked into, like, years upon years of The West Wing, and then now, of course, he's so much older, so his voice doesn't have, he's it's a different character on Landman, but, like, his voice in this and Storm of the Century is just like, this dude should have been he should have been villain in everything. Every franchise should have used this guy.
What an absolute shame that in his prime we're robbed of a lot of cooler roles. Because the two villain roles we can point to, he just does fantastic in. The scene where they conquer New Mecca and they go into the room full of converts and he's making the speech and snatches that dude's soul out of his body like Shang Tsung. He is terrifying in that scene. His speech is great. Yeah, he's one of the really you know between the design of the necromongers and his acting, he's one of the highlights of this movie in my opinion. But I would recommend Chronicles of Riddick if you're going in blind. It's like I watched all four of these with my wife. We watched Pitch Black. She's like, wasn't too crazy about it. And we Chronicles of Riddick's like, what is this? Turns out she loved it though. Uh if you love Pitch Black, then it's no guarantee you will love Chronicles of Riddick. But man, it's I love a movie with balls that goes for it. Man, this movie goes for it.
Oh, agreed. Now I'm gonna have to search a bunch of Canadian movies. Thanks, Ben.
Yeah, let's look at that. It's like, oh, he's in a bunch of man. Yeah, I need to check out more of this guy's full body of work because
Yeah.
I'm a fan, and he's also say I'm watching oil-filled Yellowstone Landman, and he's very entertaining in it. So we have 9 years between Chronicles of Riddick and Riddick being released. I there was a period in the late 2000s there's like I guess that's it. I guess that's all we get. Leaving kind of this great mystery. The thing is, it's kind of hard to talk about these movies without giving away any spoilers. So I'm just gonna say it. Spoilers alert for Chronicles of Riddick and Riddick. Riddick ends up killing the Lord Marshal at the end of the Chronicles of Riddick, and they have a saying, a mantra they live by: "You keep what you kill." So Riddick becomes the leaders of this crazy space death cult. Given Riddick's rather antisocial personality, we soon find out in Riddick that yeah, he's not a good fit for that role. We pick up a while later, I don't remember the exact amount of time later, he served as the Lord Marshal. And you get to see in the Chronicles of Riddick that Carl Urban's character, I think his name's Vaco, he desperately wants the throne. So he pulls some maneuvers to make that happen. One of the things that shows up we didn't mention on Chronicles of Riddick and is talked about in Dark Fury and is mentioned more here is Riddick is from the planet Furia, which is about as cleverly named as unobtainium, was in the Avatar movies. This planet full of apparently stone cold badasses, but they've been mostly wiped out. Riddick's trying to find the answers and find his way home, and Riddick, on his quest home, he ends up getting betrayed and left on, guess what? Another terribly shitty planet where everything is trying to kill you. I'll tell you right now, 2013 Riddick kind of almost plays like a remake of Pitch Black. It feels like a very similar kind of movie. He's on this hot, shitty planet, and there's a bunch of nightmare creatures out to kill him. Only this time, you get thrown in with a dog sidekick that's sort of like a zebra hyena, and two competing bands of mercenaries. So you have Riddick surviving this planet, then trying to fight off these band of mercenaries who are trying not to kill it, trying to, competing for Riddick, who has this big bounty on his head, and everyone's trying to survive and team up in various ways to try to get off world before the monsters kill them. Yep, sounds like Pitch Black. What did you think, Jason?
So my first note is what a regression. Because yeah, I was like, we're watching. So I'm watching it, and this is one at first. Like, I asked Amber, "Said you want me to wait?" And she goes, "No, go ahead. You can watch that one." I was like, "Okay." So I start watching it, and I'm like, I know that Yojimbo is a very famous samurai film. But I feel like this is the third or fourth month in a row where we've talked about a movie that's essentially kind of doing that storyline, whether it's, or if you prefer, A Fistful of Dollars, where there's two groups and Vin Diesel's in the middle of them, just trying to get them to egg on each other. We're on a hot planet, and there's new monsters. Only these are kind of different, but now Vin Diesel is clearly, I'm the best there ever was. Fast and Furious Vin Diesel, because the movie opens with like Riddick setting his broken leg with like the bone sticking out of the skin, and then he's just running around the rest of the movie. He has a weird space dog, and there's like these the creatures that come out of the water, like come out of like the mud, and they're kind of like graboids, as in they're
Yeah.
tentacles, and then bigger monsters underneath the tentacles. Um, you do get. I mean, I like seeing Katie Sackhoff, especially you watch the unrated cut. You see a lot of Katie Sackhoff. Um, that was the other thing too. The opening of this movie where he's the Lord Marshal is like, my God, that's a lot of nudity for the first 5 minutes of this film. Um,
They really went in on the nudity. It's like, hey, we have been, that guy from Fast and Furious. We got that plus Starbucks titties and some other titties as well.
dude, there is the unrated cut. There is full on like naked pubis in this movie.
Yep.
Um, the, which is funny because if they could have somehow talked Carl Urban into getting his haircut back like it was in 2004, you could have made a nice like uh merkin for this poor girl who was just like hanging out. But he was like, "There ain't no way you're shaving the sides of my head again. Ain't happening, buddy. I'm in Lord of the Rings. Get out of here." Um, but yeah, it's just Riddick's kind of superhero. He has a dog, and then there's like the classic trope of uh I'm a relative of a character that you killed in another movie, and so now I'm out for revenge, but then it's gonna end up I guess I'll help you because it turns out, my kid was a drug addict, so fuck him, I guess. Um, and Batista's here.
Yeah. You. You get Dave Bautista, who's kind of just there as a mercenary henchman. You have you have Drax and Starbucks boobs and uh Dominic Toretto being absolutely indestructible and surviving things that nobody could possibly survive repeatedly. Yeah, he's like just full on Terminator in this movie. It just like falls off a cliff, has rocks fall on top, breaks his legs. You're right. The scene where he's resetting his leg by taking stuff out of his armor and screwing it into his leg. I was like, I don't think the human body works like I guess maybe Furian bodies do. Then he goes, forever in this blazing hot planet without dying of dehydration and just yeah, he went from a stone cold badass, but a guy who had limitations to there's pretty much nothing Riddick can't do, and basically bend time and space and turn the pants off everybody and fight off armies and armies of these creatures and teleport through walls and it's more over the top. And don't get me wrong, I think this movie's fun, but the whole time you're watching it, you're thinking, did they just do Pitch Black again? The answer is yes, yes they did, and it's so jarring going from Pitch Black to Chronicles of Riddick, and now they're like, oh shit, we're just gonna do Pitch Black again. You go whiplash going through this franchise.
Well, that and then like there are moments of something like there's a nugget of something like Batista. I know this is early in Batista's career, but you see it. Batista's got it in that first movie, even though he's not really a bad guy, whatever. Cole Hauser has got it. Calm Fior is fantastic, and this is your third movie, and the villain is that guy from Bad Boys 2 who's not charismatic. He's not threatening as a villain. He's just kind of there, and he's just kind of like standing in front of Batista until he kills Riddick's dog, and then you're like, well, good. At least I know he'll get a horrible death. Although I do love the scene with the was it like the bus locker? They were like
Yes,
whether or not he rigged the bus locker to explode. But yeah, it's again, it's a fun movie. It's just this one is why we really playing up the fun dumb of this movie. Whereas I feel like when we left off on the Chronicles of Riddick, we could this like we've shown like, hey man, we could take this thing anywhere. And to go from that kind of feeling of that into that movie to hey, what if it was just the same movie again? Only this time he's way tougher.
it really, and that's what it is. Um, although for, I kind of, I know it was totally weird for as this like this is supposed to be a fun, outrageous movie, and then his dog gets murdered. It's like I get why you did that, and I made the mistake of forgetting that fact and watching this with my wife, and she turned to me. She's like, "Why the hell did you let me watch this movie?" It's like, I'm so sorry, I forgot. Uh, Say it, dog should have lived. But and that scene solely exists to set up Riddick brutally killing this dude. His name's Santana, who I agree. You never take him seriously as a villain. He seems dumb as a brick and brash and just why is this guy the leader of this crew of all people? Because he seems the least well equipped. But I must say, my favorite kill in the franchise was that dude getting killed in an outrageous way with a machete, and it also involves a box that keeps getting talked about in this movie. That kill was cool as hell.
That you also get like for what no reason whatsoever. This movie's like, we've done some spaceships, but again, it's 2013 and we are in the height of Fast and Furious. Wouldn't you like to see Riddick ride a space motorcycle? ape hanger handlebars included.
Yes. Kind of, this made me think of that movie we'll have to throw in at some point. The movie Priest with the crazy future motorcycles, kind of like that, or Looper for that matter, which also had crazy. What's the deal with that era and crazy flying and space motorcycles? I don't know.
I don't know because you would think it would be like, "Oh, because 'cause we're gonna make toys," but they're all these R-rated adult movies.
Yes. Hey,
But yeah, like
that didn't stop us from having RoboCop and Terminator and Rambo toys back in our childhood.
it's true.
Maybe
Hey,
they
I'm
were
telling you right
they
now,
were
even
hoping to
though
bring that trend back.
even if it was 2004 and I would have been 14 years old, you if you release
Nope,
how old would I have been? Yeah.
19.
Oh god, yeah, you're right, 19. Even better. Even better. Um, shut up, Nick. Even being a 19-year-old, if you were like, "Hey, we're releasing this wicked looking Grand Marshal action figure with, like, removable mask," it would be on a shelf to this day. Um, Again, that's the other thing too, is all the design of that movie into, "Hey, so we got this barn, right, out in the desert. What if we just, like, glued some, like, we'll get some computer parts and some dryer hose, and we'll just make it a space barn," right? Sound good? You guys wanna sweat your balls off in the Arizona desert?
This could not have been a fun shoot. It had to be miserable. But it just that's the problem is with this movie. Chronicles of Riddick set up this vast and interesting and bizarre universe, and Riddick does absolutely fuck all with it. It feels like a retread. It's a fun enough popcorn movie for the first part. Uh at the end, I forgot how nonsensical some of the characters act. The way it wraps up makes just no sense with the rest of the actions of people and the, the re- it doesn't make any sense. Some of the characters' actions at the end, what they decide to do, it's just to wrap it up clean and leave it open for a sequel. And it, yeah, this movie's not great. It can be entertaining. I like the dog, but is definitely not a must watch. And I would say 1000% the
Yeah.
weakest of this of the four.
Oh, for sure. Even the movie doesn't know how to end because the movie just kinda stops and there's, like, not even any music. It's just credits.
Yeah, it's like, okay, we're done now.
And I
Yeah.
don't worry, Logan, because I have the episode where we will talk about the guy who made Priest. Um, he is definitely on my list for when we ever talk about the directors who have been put in the quote unquote director's jail. Because he made Legion, which is what if the Terminators were angels, and then he made Priest, and they were just like, you can't do movies anymore.
What if the Terminator hunted vampires? They're both Paul Bettany. He really liked Paul Bettany. Anyway, so that for now wraps up the Riddick franchise. Uh, Riddick Fury, Riddick Furia is an active production, so I hear, with Anna de Armas set to be co-starring with Vin Diesel. It's supposedly like actively happening right now. Um, definitely, my opinion, too long of a gap, but who knows? I hope we see something like a return of Chronicles where we get to see more of this universe. I really hope they don't just retread Pitch Black again. I don't have very high expectations for this movie, but I'm invested at this point and I'll go watch it.
Yeah, I have a sneaking suspicion Vin Diesel's gonna look kind of like Stallone did in that Rambo 4, where he just looks like one big exposed muscle
Yeah.
and just kind of gross. But I mean, at this point, to see him do something other than again drive the Dodge Charger, I'm down for it. Unless they give him like a space charger.
I could 100% see that happening too. But what do you think of what do you think of the franchise overall? Watching them all back to back.
I think it again. I enjoyed it. It's you forget because Vin Diesel has been nothing except Dominic Toretto for most of my adult life. And so to be like, oh yeah, he was in this other little franchise that has some really high highs and some lows, but not like low lows. Yeah, and Groot. So like those two things, and I think Riddick is a very cool character. I think the thing with the eyes makes him unique, even though he mostly just spends every movie just like doing this over and over again. I'm here for it. Um,
Real
I will
quick,
say, yeah, yeah.
real quick about that. That is a plot hole in Riddick I forgot to talk about because so much of the time he has his goggles off in this blazing sun planet. And that's a gaping plot hole because it's like he's supposed to wear the goggles whenever it's not super dark, and they just utterly throw that out the window for Riddick. So
Well,
okay. Anyway,
I have a bigger one for you because as somebody who you saw the movie, you saw the posters, you could see behind our giant heads on this backdrop, working at Love's where they sold novelty knives. To this day, you will see those Riddick blades, and he wears them in that movie and then never uses them. They're just
holy
strapped
shit,
to his
you were
back in
right.
the on this in that movie. He never uses it. Not one
What a
time.
shame. And those are def. Be you want to talk about gas station knives? Those are space gas station knives.
Yep,
I
those,
still
and
want
then
them. I don't care.
there was the knife from Cobra, and there was the Wolverine claws that you could put your hands in. And then it was right besides that, it was just all pocket knives with eagles on them.
Well, back to the Reddit franchise. I enjoy watching. That's the thing. All four of these, even Reddit, the weakest one, is still at least a fun enough popcorn movie. Pitch Black is the real star here, and is the one I really recommend people see. The Chronicles is wild, and I have a major soft spot for it, and I think it's a really cool space opera. Dark Fury is a quick watch, worth watching. So
And if you can
you know
find somebody
this
that does
this
a let's
being our
play of
January
Butcher's Bay,
episode.
if you can find somebody that's doing let's play Butcher's Bay on YouTube, watch that.
Yeah, that's usually, especially until the last 15 years or so, anything based off of a movie video game wise was known to be utterly awful. But Escape from Butcher Bay, I believe, was in 2004 when it came out. Got, I mean, awards and was universally acclaimed as being a great game. It
Yeah.
plays, Riddick, uh, earlier on in his life, escaping the Supermax prison and fighting his way out. I tried to find a way to play it online and I couldn't find a good way to do it. I really wanted to give it a shot at some point. Apparently, they came out with an expanded remastered version later on for, I believe it was Xbox 360. But I wish we could have given that a go, but probably should have tried harder, but we just did the movies. So that's okay. And, this is our small January episode. And I had fun with this one. We we're keeping this, we always keep the January episode a little smaller because we're getting ready for best and worst of 2025, which we will be tackling the end of February.
That's right. We like
You,
to wait. Number one, because we both have full time jobs, and so we can't. We want to see as much as we can, but also we want everybody else to give you their opinions on the best and worst of 2025 before we give you the facts. Stone cold facts of the best and worst movies on of 2025. I think Ben's got it here. Fast and Furious versus Riddick. I say nay nay. Put them together. Sinners 2. Ben Diesel in both roles.
I can, I get behind that. Also been the pizza scissors from Cobra, that absolutely kills me. I love that scene. I love that movie, and anytime I've watched Cobra with anybody, that scene happens like, "Wait, what does he do?" Golden. Love that reference. Anyway, we're catching up on the movies of 2025. I think this is literally the most caught up in newer movies I have ever been, but I'm still not. I got several more on my list that I'm knocking out, and I think we're gonna have a dynamite episode. I also am very certain we're gonna have some on opposite sides of the lists, as we usually do. But that's cool. That's what keeps things fun. But I can't wait. I best and worst of 2025 you ends up being, or best and worst list, not of 2025, ends up being one of my favorite episodes of the year because I'm just dying to know what you said, dying to know where you stand on certain movies. So I can't wait.
Oh, it's gonna be fun. I already know some titles that are going to be very controversial, but it always in good fun, and we always uh you know are for the most part respectful about each other's opinions.
Oh yeah.
We've never thrown any. We've never like stormed off of a live anyway. So, but it is fun to see those the things that you see in something that you love versus something that somebody sees and hates. I have not seen K-pop Demon Hunter. I am the one. So, in case anybody else in the world asks, it's me. I have not seen it. Um, but yeah, we the train moves ever forward. So we're closing the book on Riddick for now until we get that famed next Riddick movie. However, the party doesn't stop because Sundays and Wednesdays are usually when our new weekly videos go up each and every single week. Um, and this is of course Nick's an old hat now. He's like 4 movies in for the new year. Uh, with new 2026 reviews, including a new one that's going to be coming out on Wednesday. I'll leave it to him if he wants to share what it is. But I have my first 2026 movie review coming out tomorrow, 4 p.m. Central Standard Time. And we are starting off with a bloody, bloody bang because I'm going to be giving you my review of the newest uh, YouTuber makes movie film Markiplier's Iron Lung.
Real quick, I want to plug Ben, our loyal supporter, and his YouTube channel, 3 Minute Horror Reviews. By all means, go check him out. Go
Absolutely.
subscribe, go like. Puts out some absolutely dynamite material, and his channel is ever growing. And Ben, I can't tell you how much we appreciate your support. And 700 views, excellent for K-pop Demon Hunters. Man, I'm loving your content, and I'm really honored that that I know you have a lot going on in your life. You'll take the time to come by and stop at our lives. We deeply appreciate it. So check out 3 Minute Horror Reviews by all means. Uh, as for the next post theater clarity, I went to this previous Monday to the Regal Monday Night Mystery movie where you get to see a movie a week or two early before it's released. And I went to go see the new Gore Verbinski movie, Good Luck, Have Fun, Don't Die, starring Sam Rockwell. Uh, I'll tell you right now, I quite enjoyed it. It is a strange, strange ride, but I was there for it. So check that out when it drops. It is actually my first review for Post Theater Clarity, where my whole family's involved. My wife and my daughter wanted to be included, so we've shot that together. And next up on Post Theater Clarity is the great movie coming out, Melania. I am joking. I am not going to see that movie. Uh, I have several. I have several on the list I'm looking at doing. So definitely check back next week. I will have something hot off the press for you, and I appreciate you checking those out. I It has given me a great excuse to break out my Regal movie pass and hit the movies often, and it has been wonderful. For the most part, there's been a few duds because there always are. But we appreciate your continued support, and I really looking forward to next month and all this year holds. I think we're going to have a fun year with a lot of great episodes.
Yes. So you don't want to miss any of them. So make sure if you're joining us that you like, subscribe, uh, you follow, you tell your friends, you watch, you go back and you just let the videos play, man. It's just two friends talking about movies and you can too. So do all that stuff so we can keep growing. And again, watch as much as you can for 2025 because that's what we'll be doing for the next month, try to get caught up and get our list together. And I am so excited. I haven't even started like a base list yet, and I cannot tell you how excited I am to go back and forth on those. It's gonna be a blast. Again, it is like you, it's one of my favorites that we do each year. And then keep going from there. But make sure you are here tomorrow and then on Wednesdays for our weekly reviews. And then we will see you guys next month. And until then, I am Jason,
And I'm Nick.
and we will see you guys next time. Bye.